Hi, Roy. Thank you very much for joining me today. You know, I know we share a collective view on this issue with vaccinations and the absolute need to get our people vaccinated in the country. And I believe that that view is shared across all of Parliament. So all of our colleagues are unified in that respect. But I wanted to get your thoughts in respect to that.
Thanks a lot for inviting me to be here with you today, Wayne. Delighted to do so. The issue surrounding COVID-19 is one that's been with us now for almost 18 months. And, the idea of getting people vaccinated is one that is foremost in our minds. And we are, even as an opposition, although we sit on opposite sides of the aisle, we are united with government in what it's trying to do and to accomplish to get people vaccinated.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all Caymanians, right? And I know you don't love Cayman any more than I do, and vice versa. I remember the former premier, he was always famous for saying, you may love Cayman as much as I do, but not more than I do. And I think we all agree.
Yes.
We all share that same view. And I know you guys did the former government, you did a great job dealing with the whole lockdown situation and managing the unlocking of that while keeping our borders closed. And in the views of many people, that may have been, although it was a very bold move, and it was one that was difficult to make. Some people would say it's the easier part of the whole equation than sort of unlocking now and reintroducing risk. And I'm glad that we all share that same view today, that we must protect our people as far as possible. We must get as many of our people as possible vaccinated. It's all good to say, that the target should be X or this or that, and the date should be set and all that, but at the end of the day, we need to get as many of our people vaccinated as possible so that the benefits of the vaccine they can take, which is they're less likely to get ill badly and end up in hospital, and they're significantly less likely to die. And I know that you, just like myself and all the rest of us, as members of Parliament, you would all share the same grief and the same pain that we would have in terms of government to lose any Caymanian.
But I think every one of us all agree that the only safe way to do it and to reopen our country's borders is to get ourselves vaccinated. Mm-hmm. We had said from the very outset that this is the only way that we could safely reopen. And that is why I think we had a really great push and great success in the early months of receiving the vaccine, so much so that the demand exceeded the supply. But we seem to have gotten now to a certain level or a certain point where people are not as forthcoming in terms of stepping up and getting themselves vaccinated, for whatever reason that might be. And I think that's what we should be seeking now to change and to try to encourage, is for those remaining who are reluctant for whatever reason, to be able to step up now and get themselves vaccinated. I think we have to acknowledge that, one, you have a segment of our population, 12 and under, that are not eligible to be vaccinated.
And those are the people we need to protect.
Absolutely. And so whatever, we do moving forward, we have to bear that in mind, that there will be some segment that won't be protected by the vaccine. But you also have a number, I think, that are, for reasons unknown, really just don't want to be vaccinated and are not stepping forward. And those are the ones I think we have to prevail upon to try and get them to volunteer and to step up and take the vaccine.
I don't know, I mean, from your perspective, you can share it as well, but I mean, I certainly, when I did the vaccine earlier this year, I waited for my turn, when I thought through the process and I thought about whether this is something I should do. And I reached the conclusion, even though there was concerns about how fast it was developed and all that, I thought about it, and I certainly reached the conclusion that yes, it was safe. Yes, it had been developed rather quickly, but there were no other circumstances during our lifetime where anything like this was developed, where the need was so great and the opportunity and the focus and the money that was being put into it was so significant that, you know, that in itself would lead to the vaccine being developed so quickly. And we've got the best vaccine provided by the United Kingdom. It has been demonstrated to be the most effective one. So I think, you know, personally I think a lot of it is people just are afraid. They fear something they don't necessarily understand. And I think if, you know, if we can help them to, along with their doctors and everybody else, get comfortable, I think we can get a lot more people there who are willing to take the vaccine.
Well, that certainly should be our goal. Yeah. And from this conversation, waiting for us to encourage and continue to encourage people to step forward. You know, from my own experiences, when COVID first came in March, I was one of the first people to isolate. I isolated before we even determined we were going into isolation, because I have several factors in my own health and lifestyle predisposed me to, you know, I was considered high risk. And so I did. And when the opportunity arose to get vaccinated and protect myself, I was one of the first to put my hands up and said, I'm ready, let's do it. And, you know, I'm very happy now all of my family have been vaccinated, and, you know, we are all protected.
Same thing here. I mean, my mother, she's 77. She was vaccinated months ago. She was absolutely fine. She had no side effects at all. I mean, I don't know what your experience was. For me, the only side effects I had was I had no arm pain or anything, but the first shot was fine. Didn't notice it. Didn't even think about it. The second shot, the next day, I think maybe 20 hours later, I felt tired, and then I had a little bit of sweating that evening, in the middle of a campaign meeting of all things. So you know how you know you're under stress already. But I was doing some extra sweating because I had a slight fever. But that's really it. I mean, you know, and as far as things go in terms of being able to protect myself and protect other people in society and not becoming a vector to infect other people, that's a small price to pay, you know, a little bit of inconvenience, a little slight amount of discomfort.
Yeah, it's not just about yourself, it's about others too as well that you are protecting. In my case, Wayne, I mean, I had a little bit of tenderness out in my throat arm, you know, the day I got it, and that lasted probably less than 24 hours. And I had absolutely no effects from the second one. But the things that you describe are just, you know, are common, but they are minor in comparison to what you get.
That's 80% of probably what the side effects are.
But to know now that you're protected as best as, you know, the world can be protected, it's a great comfort to me, and to, you know, I think it would be for everyone else to know that they are protected.
And of course, we now have 2 persons that we've identified that have the Delta variant, who are in Cayman. Obviously, they're in quarantine, so that whole system protects us from, you know, the possibility of it getting loose in society. But as we go down the months coming up, and we get to the point where we start unlocking and start reducing some of the restrictions, obviously the risk starts to go up. And the Delta variant has become, not only is it like the most contagious version of this virus, and it has now sort of become ubiquitous around the world. It's the main version now. I think in the U.S. it went from about 4 or 5 weeks ago being at around 5% to now being around 85% or something like that. And we have our 2 versions of it here. So that I think is something, you know, people need to bear in mind. When we started increasing the risk and reopening, we are going to have community transmission again. And the way we address that is by making sure people are vaccinated. Yes, we have some other public health protocols that we can utilize, but primarily we're going to be relying on the vaccine. So if we can get as many of our people, and ideally all of our people that can take it, to protect this country, to protect each other, to protect our children who can't get vaccinated, that is where we need to aim for.
And that's where the focus, you talk about aiming for it, that's the absolute focus for us. You know, I think that the fact that the Delta variant has now been detected here is concerning, but really doesn't surprise me given the way it has just spread so virulently throughout the world, that it is now the predominant strain of the vaccine that is inflicting us. But you are absolutely right. I mean, the vaccine is the only way to deal with it. And the plea continues to be to our people to take up the opportunity and to help get the country vaccinated. Because, as you say, the risk profile does start to go up once you start to relax the policies that we have in place in terms of keeping the borders closed. So once they start to ease, I mean, yes, you are going to reintroduce the virus to the country, but if we're all protected, we'll all be safe. The odds are we will not die from it or get violently sick like many do today. Many, you get it, as I understand, with one of the patients persons who have now been diagnosed with it, is totally asymptomatic, and the other has very mild symptoms. That's what the vaccine does for us, and it's beholden on everyone now to really get serious about this and take responsibility and step up.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the approach we need to take, and we need to acknowledge the fact, right, that we are trying to do something that has not been done successfully in the vast majority of places, and probably no other place, and that's to try to reopen successfully and stay open, and without having to go back into lockdowns and stuff. Who knows? Of course, things are changing all the time, and we may have to reassess positions, but we want to be the first country to be able to try to reopen successfully and stay open, to be able to get back to some sense of normalcy, but specifically having our people vaccinated.
And the one thing I would just remind the public too, who are watching this, Wayne, is that this vaccine is provided to us by the British government at no cost to us. So there is absolutely no cost to any person who is taking the vaccine. All it takes is your determination to do so and a little bit of your time. And, let's get vaccinated, Cayman.
All righty. Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Thank
brother.
you too.